Hello and welcome to The Hard Sell, the show where the stick in the swill-bucket rattles back. Let's ease into the new year with a nice, simple...
Have a break.
Even though Christmas is over, dead, buried and rotting in its tinsel-draped coffin, I'm going to disseminate a commercial break from the classic Alistair Sim version of Scrooge, just to confuse you. Just to confuse you further, it's actually from a showing on the 3rd of September 1986 on Channel 4. It was part, the beginning, in fact, of a season of Dickens adaptations on the station that autumn. And of course the young and cocky Channel 4 doesn't care about any kind of seasonal appropriateness, if only because no one's watching the station at this point anyway. The ITV region this was recorded in is Granada. And that's actually important, well, relatively, because this was when Channel 4 was still a subsidiary of the IVA rather than a company in its own right, and its commercial breaks were therefore bought and played out by the ITV companies. In some parts of the country, like my podunk region, this led to this sort of thing happening. Because TSW's budget couldn't stretch that far. But Granada, of course, had far deeper pockets, and so this commercial break is complete all the way through, without having to resort to an interlude slide or public information film. You remember Simple Soap? They murdered a flower to make a point about how nice they were. No additives, see? No artificial colouring. And soap with no additives or artificial colouring, it turns out, is naturally kind of brown and see-through. As it happened, however, people seem to prefer their soap being white, because of decades of adverts and centuries of society in general equating white with purity. So Simple gave up and turned their soap white after all, keeping the original see-through formula for a while as a separate product, what you might call the Coca-Cola Classic strategy. Technically it's that, Simple Clear, that's being advertised here. Same Satie-esque reverb-heavy piano tune as the flower one, but with 100% less Joanna Lumley.
From Achtermachty to Abergavenny, from Birmingham to Bardrini.
Ian Holm in a role that will surprise you. A bored kid on a long car journey with nothing to amuse him but a road atlas of the UK.
From Cardiff to Colchester.
Across the country, the word is spreading.
Edinburgh to Egham, from Folkestone to Faversham. From Glastonbury to Grimsby, from Hereford to Hinckley. From Ilfracombe to Ingatstone. Jarrow to Jevington. Lowestoft to Lincoln.
Meanwhile, we're treated to shots of what the government thinks is typical working-class life post-miners' strike.
From Margate to Maidstone.
Soon everyone will have a chance to invest in one of Britain's biggest and most important companies.
From Quarrybank to Queensbury, from Rugby to Romsey, from Skegness to Swansea, from Tunbridge to Torquay.
A company whose product is used every day by millions of people from Westminster to Wigan.
From Yeovil to Yardley Commune.
Okay, so now it's some kind of disquieting ritual, where the proles gather on a cliff to worship their newly free-market-guided utility.
From Aberdeen to Alfreton.
Soon everyone will have a chance to share in the shares of British Gas.
From Esher to Ely.
For more information and to reserve a prospectus, phone 0272 272 272.
Yes, it's privatisation time again. In this case, British Gas.
Soon everyone will have a chance to share in the shares of British Gas.
Soon everyone will have a chance to pay extortionate fees for a far worse service would have been more honest, but less enticing. Of course, at this point we're also being asked to tell Sid, whoever he is, all about British Gas becoming a PLC, which they tried to frame as a get-rich-quick scheme for ordinary Britons.
If you see Sid, tell him.
It was, of course, a massive pop-cultural success and set the formula for future privatisations, of which there were plenty. Don't go on about stock portfolios and the value of shares going down as well as up. Attempt to make it sound like privatising a utility is somehow for the benefit of ordinary people, when it's actually much to their detriment as consumers of the utility services. Oh well.
For more information and to reserve a prospectus, phone 0272 272 272.
He wants to give me the elbow. I'm here to stay.
Your wall is haunted
To shift me, he'll have to get new Nitromor's textured paint remover.
by a malevolent spirit of line drawing, whose one weakness is a paint remover which sounds more like a compost.
A perfect solution from Nitromor's.
Okay. That's good. Buy that. Buy that. It makes line drawing sad. And Paul Nicholas happy.
A perfect solution from Nitromor's.
Come on, Guy, Just Good Friends is at its height, and you're doing this. Oh, well, I suppose after you've recorded this, anything seems dignified.
I had a regular pneumonia. I went to my doctor. He said I got just what you need. 3 times a day, a little reggae like it used to be. We got reggae, we got reggae, we got reggae, we got reggae. All that we need's a little reggae like it used to be.
Why are white people so rubbish?
A perfect solution from Nitromor's.
The nation's #1 bed sale.
That's right, the nation's #1 bed sale. Well, Bates said so, and who can argue with Bates? He was at the peak of his Radio 1 powers at this point, which basically meant he was only hated by the people who knew him, and not by the entire nation.
Thousands of beds, all the famous names at prices that just can't be beaten. That's guaranteed.
Beds, won't you?
Coffee, anyone? Won't be a minute.
Here we see a bourgeois dinner party reaching its final quarter, which of course means coffee time. The coffee in question is Brook Pond Red Mountain, which has the distinct disadvantage that you have to act like a Burke every time you make it for anyone else to cover up the fact that it's an instant.
Because we thought that making filter coffee was sometimes a bit of an effort, we made Brook Pond Red Mountain.
It's not that
Red Mountain is freeze-dried, so it tastes fresh and richly roasted.
lovely coffee. Anyway, what I was going to say...
Red Mountain. It's like ground coffee taste without the grind.
Ian Holm again, on voice duties. Red Mountain saw its biggest success in the early 90s after Brook Pond hired our old friends from the first Direct and Tango stories, those prankster kings of the advertising industry, HHCL. Who turned out a series of naturally absurdist blipverts that topped and tailed many of the first few months' worth of commercial breaks on GMTV.
Ground coffee taste without the grind.
And this is the kind of thing that HHCL were reacting against. A rather self-satisfied advert for Philadelphia cream cheese.
So many delicious things were just made to go with cool, fresh Philadelphia.
Which starts from quite a pretty treatment of an already over-cute premise, and descends into endless and increasingly artificial copy about how completely great Philadelphia is.
So many tastes, but only one Philadelphia. You can hardly improve on such a delicious arrangement, except by making sure there's enough cool, fresh Philadelphia for everyone.
I'm sorry, I mean cool, fresh Philadelphia. Apparently you can't say the brand name without first saying the adjectives, and for preference, as smarmily as possible. Not that I blame the voiceover man, who even by 1986 was a grizzled veteran of this game. Smarmy was the case they gave him. Eventually, Philadelphia hit upon the comedy duo of Sarah Crowe as a bubblehead and Anne Bryson as a neurotic instead.
Oh, I need some excitement in my life. Maybe I'll fill in this computer dating thingy.
Wouldn't you rather have a nice hot snack?
Now, describe your dream date.
A baked potato with a generous topping of creamy Philadelphia.
Generous, yes. Smooth, sophisticated, cool, luxurious, irresistible.
See, I was right. You don't need a man at all. You just needed a new serving suggestion.
That worked much better. For them, anyway. It didn't ultimately do a lot for those two talented actresses' careers.
Except by making sure there's enough cool, fresh Philadelphia for everyone.
Air Tours are selling winter holidays from just £69 for 1 week, with extra weeks from £10.
Air Tours have Quantel paint box. And they've learned the shutter transition.
You can fly from your local airport to the sun in Tenerife, Gran Canaria, southern Spain, Ibiza, Algarve, Mallorca, Menorca and Costa Blanca.
All the usual Watney's Red Barrel location.
Call into any ABTA travel agent or phone now for your free brochure.
It's better than sitting around in Doncaster watching the slugs drown. As you're probably experiencing right now, assuming you're watching this the week it went out, the traditional sweeps month for travel agents is actually January, after Christmas comes to its usual monumentally depressing screeching halt, and the proletariat, faced with nothing but at least 2 more months of cold and dark and grey in Britain, look to escape somewhere sunburny until the spring.
Call into any ABTA travel agent or phone now for your free brochure.
Atmosphere reflects personality and mood. Style is the result of inspired imagination.
He says over a shot of a fireplace with a Dalmatian statue and a fireguard shaped like the NBC peacock.
Wire surrounds and accessories, the very best of Europe. From Tudor to Victorian, Adams to French classic, marble to Lakeland slate.
So yeah, if you're inadequate about your social status, and God knows you should be, why not get a fireplace and pretend you're living in Downton fucking Abbey or something? Go on.
Decorative products to transform your home into a country cottage or a Georgian masterpiece.
A semi-detached with ideas above its station.
From foundation to fireside, it's yours to discover at Housing Units of Hollingwood, Home Building Centre, Britain's greatest fireplace ideas.
Well, Oldham's greatest fireplace ideas, certainly. And then we're back to the inappropriately timed Christmas Carol. Oh, fuck off, it's only the 3rd of September. It's still technically summer. We ain't even had Harvest Festival yet, for God's sake, you fuckers. It's also in the middle of the afternoon, so really we should be thanking God that this is Granada land, since we're mining for adverts on First Decade Channel 4. This same break at the same time in my region probably consisted of 2 still images of local Ford dealerships and or furniture stores, followed by 3.5 minutes of a Channel 4 logo accompanied by the greatest hits of Keith Mansfield. And I can confirm that down here in the southwest, these things didn't die off altogether until 1993, when Channel 4 was spun off into a company in its own right, that bought its own advertising nationwide. I bring this up because for an uncomprehending child at the time, it was like Channel 4 was going to extreme lengths to fulfil its edgy alternative mandate by presenting itself as a commercial station without the adverts. Just gaps where they would have gone in a sort of absurdist protest against the whole concept of television advertising. All the basic content and service of the BBC with added pointless inconvenience. As a satirical art project, it's pretty clever, although I'm not sure the concept could sustain a full decade. As a business model, it is a bit shit. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to support me on Patreon so I can do both these programmes and eating. Please don't make me choose. You'll get your name in the credits with a title whose glitziness corresponds with your generosity. And from next week you'll get the chance to read and help shape my colossal History of the BBC Rule the Waves. It's basically BBC in the face, except it's a book. I'm very excited about it, so should you be, and for less than $1 a month you could be reading it from next week. Join now!